Okay, Mayor Jane here. We are surrounded by city personnel and TICO representative as well. I think that the main issues right now that people want to hear about is electricity. When's the electricity going to come back up? And then when are we going to be able to get gas? So we are doing all that we can on both of those issues, working hand in hand with TICO, hand in hand with the port. I'll talk about the port in a moment, and as I said, we have a representative from TICO. So we have all hands on deck out there. We have push crews have gone through, cleared all of the streets, and just cleared the streets so that first responders in our community could utilize that, could utilize those roadways. Because the energy is out, power is out, 65% of our traffic lights are down. So we have officers out there at the vast majority of those intersections. Chief Burkle will talk about that as well. Our solid waste team is already on it. We have contractors that showed up today. As stated before, we're going to start with that household debris that we weren't able to pick up previously that was still on Davis Islands in the South Tampa area. So we're going to pick that up, and then refuse yard waste, they're going Columbus North starting at 6 a.m. this morning. So crews out there working and taking care of what we need to. Now we have two areas. We still have some flooding down in South Tampa. We still have a number of roadways that are flooded. We're just so saturated that there is no place for that rainwater to go in some areas. So it's just going to take time for some of that to dissipate. I don't know if this is a fact to the inch, but my understanding is that the city of St. Petersburg received more rain from Milton than they have in their highest month of October, all from one storm in one 24-hour period. And we weren't too far behind that. So there are two areas in the city that have flooded as a result of pump failures and generator failures in stormwater ponds, getting that stormwater out of the communities. The one area is over south of Fowler between 22nd and 30th Street, and we are currently pumping the water out of that at 30,000 gallons a minute. We are pulling the water out of there. So thank you to the community. I know that this is something that wasn't expected, areas that don't normally flood. The other area is the Forest Hills area. Now that particular location, it's a combination of Hillsborough County stormwater ponds and City of Tampa stormwater ponds. I believe there's 9 county ponds that feed in to 2 or 3 city ponds there. And that particular location, we do have pumps in that location, and we are getting ready to start pulling the water out of that location. Some pretty significant flooding in both of those areas. We are standing up neighborhood support locations. For Forest Hills, it's going to be at the Babe Zaharis Golf Course, and we expect that to be up and running at 1 o'clock today, and that will run through 7 o'clock or until, if we need to adjust those hours, we'll be more than happy to. For the Fowler Avenue community, it's going to be Copeland Park, and that also will open up at 1 o'clock, 1 to 7. And we're planning to provide hygiene, food, and any other needs or resources that our community has in those two neighborhoods. As I said, solid waste, the debris collection continues. They were suspended, everybody knows that by now. The recycling and garbage services were suspended today so that our teams could get out there and start picking up a lot of this brush. So those all services, garbage and recycling, will resume this Monday morning. I talked about the resource pop-up centers. We are in contact with FEMA. I spoke to the local director, boots on the ground today, about some of the needs for us, especially getting this power back up so we can get the traffic lights running and get everybody's air conditioner going. We're in constant contact with the state, Kevin Guthrie, and also with Hillsborough County and all of our partners in the Tampa Bay area. Now on gas, just got off the phone with the director of the port. There are 6 locations, sites at the port that provide fuel to 17 counties. Those locations are surrounded right now by the rainwater. So we are currently pumping that out, and the goal is to have 3 of those providers, trucks full of fuel out of the port by the end of the day today, and then get the other 3 up and running as well. But that is the issue with gasoline right now. We have plenty out at the port. It's getting it from the port to the gas stations because of the flooding around those storage tanks at the port. So please, if you don't have to go anywhere, don't. Conserve that energy. Fortunately, we have wonderful weather out, and so those with generators, just plugging in your refrigerator, and of course we have to charge all of our phones, but you know, we're not going to be running air conditioner and those types of things. So hopefully we can conserve on some fuel until we can get that fuel distributed. And the focus for that fuel distribution will be into the areas that were hit by Milton. They're not going to be sent out to other locations that haven't been impacted. All right, with that, I am going to bring up Vic Bide, who is Mobility and Stormwater. Vic?
Thank you, Mayor.
Can I
And
switch
good
mics
morning.
real quick? Sorry. Can I switch mics real quick?
Sure. All right, thank you, Mayor. So from a mobility perspective, we're dealing with 2 major issues that the Mayor touched upon. The first is about 65% of our traffic lights are out. Our traffic signals are out, meaning they're dark and they don't have power. We're actively working in partnership with TPD and FDOT to either get generators and have those up and running, or put in stop signs. But in the meantime, please pay attention to dark signals. Please know that these have to be treated as 4-way stop locations. We've already had a fatality last night at one of the locations within the city, and we really do not want this to repeat. Pay attention at traffic signals, treat them as 4-way stops, slow down. Just in general, slow down your speeds through dark signals. We really appreciate the community's cooperation on that. We're also working with extra signal crews. So as we speak, we have 8 of our own city crews out in the field working on traffic lights, and we have 2 additional contractor crews as well. I've been in touch with FDOT and Secretary Gwynn this morning. He has offered all the support that we need as well. So we're coordinating with our state partners on that. Now moving to flooding, we have, as the Mayor mentioned, 3 areas that typically don't flood, but because we had significant amounts of rain, and we're talking about 11 inches of rain, on top of 2 back-to-back kind of hurricanes, where the ground was saturated, there isn't anywhere for the stormwater to go, so they've collected water. We're actively working in these areas. I'll provide an update on each of those. The first is the area around North Boulevard, 109th, and Curiosity Creek. We're very aware of the flooding on 109th between North Boulevard and Ashley, and on North Boulevard, just north of 109th, all the way down to Bougainvillea. A lot of folks have been impacted there. We've been in touch with them. We're providing services, as the mayor said. On the stormwater front, we have 3 pumps actively pumping this morning at Curiosity Creek. That is connected to the other 2 ponds. They all ultimately drain into the Hillsborough River. So, and we're adding additional resources there as well. We should start seeing an improvement in that area by the end of the day. On Fowler Avenue, there are a couple of things we're doing. One is we're working with the county, who have on the upstream end some pumping stations that failed after the power outages. And then further downstream, closer to Donut Pond, the city also has pumping stations. Both of these are currently up and running. Both the counties and the cities' pumping stations are up and running. Our pumping station is putting out 30,000 gallons a minute. So we're pumping at capacity. We're coordinating that capacity with the county as well, because we've got to make sure that all of it makes it ultimately to the outfall, and so it doesn't create any flooding issues elsewhere. Over and above, we've also received some FEMA support, and we're very thankful for that. We're going to receive about 6 Vector trucks. These are stormwater vacuum trucks that can suck out any debris and stormwater from inlets and clean out drains. They're currently en route from South Florida, and we expect them any minute. Our folks are on it with FEMA, so we really appreciate FEMA's support on that. The Army Corps of Engineers is helping us out as well. So next week, as we go into a little deeper assessment after this initial response to the most urgent items, we'll work with the Army Corps on additional stormwater needs and supports, slightly medium term than the short term needs, and then look at the Bermuda Boulevard seawall in Palmetto Beach, which was hit really hard through Helene and has exacerbated the issue a little bit after Milton as well. So again, these are unprecedented times, and we're seeing flooding in areas that typically don't flood, mainly because those grounds are saturated and they have a whole bunch of other ponds in the area as well. But the team is on it, and we're going to stay on it until these issues are resolved. And I'll pass it on to Chief Burkhardt.
No, it's going to be Tico.
Oh, Tico at this point.
Good morning. My name is Mary Lou Karn from Tampa Electric. And first and foremost, I'd like to send our heartfelt concern for everyone who has been affected by Hurricane Milton. I assure you that everyone at Tampa Electric and the 6,000 plus utility workers that we've brought in from as far away as Canada are working tirelessly around the clock to restore power as quickly and safely as possible. It has been a rough couple of weeks that has been stressful and exhausting for everyone in the community, and we know that being without power just adds to that frustration and the challenges that you're facing in your recovery from Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. We recognize the essential role that we play, that electricity plays in your restoration process. And it's hard to believe, by the great weather that we're having today, thankfully, that we were hit by an unprecedented storm with catastrophic damage to our community just less than 2 days ago. Not only did we experience hurricane-force winds, but in 18 hours we received 40% of the annual rainfall to our region on ground that was already saturated from a very wet summer and Hurricane Helene. As a result, we will experience a longer restoration time than our community experienced with prior storms. To give perspective to the magnitude of the restoration that we are undertaking, our system experienced about 70% of our customers. This is largely due to flooding of our electrical infrastructure, a huge number of fallen trees, knocking down overhead power lines and poles. Some of the more severe impacts have been our transmission lines, mostly due to debris, but the good news is that those fixes should be quick and will significantly help restore power to many people, as these lines enable the delivery of power to our substations and distribution networks. We ask for the community's patience and understanding as we proceed through this complex and painstaking restoration effort to be safe, quick, and efficient. What are we doing? I'm going to say that we are doing a lot to help restore power. Tampa Electric has mobilized more than 6,000 utility workers from as far away as Canada, Texas, and Minnesota to assist with electric restoration. This is the largest deployment of utility workers for a restoration in Tampa Electric's history. We began to work Thursday morning at 7 a.m. as soon as conditions allowed and have not stopped since. Within 24 hours, we have resolved more than 220,000 outages, and the number continues to decrease. By tonight, we will be able to provide an update on the timeline for restoring power to the majority of our customers who can safely receive it. In cases where customers experience structural damage or flooding of any kind, power will be restored when private electrical or property damage is resolved, and it is safe for us to energize that property. You can look for information on damaged electrical equipment on our website at tampaelectric.com/storm. After any storm, we use a priority restoration to guide our response. Our immediate focus Thursday morning was on resolving life-threatening situations to ensure the safety of our customers and beginning the work to restore electricity to essential services such as hospitals, police, fire departments, and the airport. We are beginning the restoration in neighborhoods as well, focusing on repairs that would get the largest number of customers back in power in the shortest amount of time. You will see these number of trucks in your neighborhood start to grow, and they will be making more headway through the restoration process. As we proceed today, we are restoring other vital community and public services providers power, including assisted living facilities, nursing homes, water, sewage, and other areas. If you have a power outage and you have not reported it yet, please report it to us on our website in the outage map at tampaelectric.com/storm, or you may text the word OUT, O-U-T, to 27079, or call us at 877-588-1010. That's 877-588-1010. And by doing so, you help us track outages and restoration. So just a few things to keep note. There are a lot of dangerous conditions existing post Hurricane Milton, and we recommend following some of these safety tips. Always assume that down power lines are energized. There are a lot of down power lines and a lot of flooding in our area. Just to get here today, I had to, risk a few little turns about in my streets because there was standing water, there were trees hanging on power lines. It's just unprecedented damage, and it's most important to be careful with that. Stay out of the flood water. You don't know what's in there. A lot of times there are transformers and things that are in the water that you cannot see, and if they're energized, that puddle is also energized. Do not touch any down power lines. Don't go near them. Don't try to remove tree limbs from them. Don't try to cut brush from them. Don't touch a fence or anything else they might be touching, because it will conduct electricity and you could be electrocuted. And lastly, with portable generators, I like to put out just a little extra warning. As I was looking around my neighborhood yesterday, I noticed people had generators outside their garage, but the wind was blowing towards the garage. So I want to make sure you understand when we say well ventilated to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning, that means if you open your garage door and you have your generator right there, or your back porch, and the wind is blowing into your house, that's blowing carbon monoxide into your house. So it really needs to be in a well ventilated area away from openings where wind might be blowing that exhaust into your home. All right, thank you. And I'd like to bring on, please, I can't talk anymore. Police Chief Lee Burkoff, please.
It's very clear, even though the hurricane's passed, that we're still feeling the impacts. And I can assure everyone out there that every Tampa Police Department officer is still on duty addressing every concern. And as the mayor said, numerous amounts of traffic lights are out. And we have officers covering those lights, but unfortunately there's intersections that we can't cover. And it's imperative that everybody knows that if the light is completely out, you must treat it as a four-way stop. Not a two-way stop, a four-way stop. That is not optional. So we need to get that message out. Unfortunately, last night at 10 o'clock, we had a traffic fatality. And in that situation, we're trying to avoid that. It's very tragic that a 53-year-old woman lost her life last night. We do not want anyone else to have to suffer through that. So again, if you see an intersection, no matter what direction you're going and the light is out, you must treat it as a four-way stop. And I also want to address water in the roadway. If you see water in the roadway, turn around, do not drive your vehicle in the water. You'll damage your vehicle and potentially you could get yourself injured or even killed. All these things we will get through together, but we need everybody's patience. Please work with your police department so we will all get through this together. And next I'll bring up the Fire Chief, Barbara Tripp.
Thank you, Chief. As everyone see, the message here is to, even though Hurricane Milton is gone, we're trying to recover. And it's all about safety. And that's what we want to present to each one of you all. So as we continue to navigate back to what we call a life of normalcy, you know, we have been presented with a couple of challenges. One thing is about power. A lot of homes still do not have electrical power. So some of the safety tips that we want you to take here to just remember, water and electricity do not mix. If you are at your home and you do not have power, you may want to shut off your breakers, because when that power gets restored, chances of having like some sort of surge could happen and cause a fire, and you definitely don't want that to take place at night. So once again, if you are leaving your home and you don't have power, you may want to shut off your breaker, because if the power comes back on, you may have a surge. If you notice anything suspicious when your power comes on, different smells, sights, sounds, you want to turn off your main breaker immediately and make sure you seek some sort of assistance. Call 911, we'll be there to assist you. We talked about generator safety. Even though we say put it in a well-ventilated area, outside your garage, yes, it is ventilated, but you have to remember about the wind direction. If it's blowing into your house, you're going to create that carbon monoxide into your homes. So you need to put it away from your house in a well-ventilated area. Do not plug in, only plug in stuff that's necessary. You have to get fuel, we're running low on fuel, so make sure you only plug in the necessary items into your generator. If you see some signs of a fire, make sure you call 911. These are just some of the signs that will help you, some of the things that will help you to be safe as we continue to restore back to a normal life. We want everyone to be safe. We're here to help you, and just know that your mayor cares about her community, and that's why we're here, continue to put the message out there. So we want everyone to stay safe. Now we will turn it over to Natalia.
Buenas tardes, Natalia Verdina, vocera para la ciudad de Tampa. Han pasado 2 días desde el huracán y sabemos que nuestra región sigue enfrentando muchos problemas relacionados con la tormenta. Entre ellos, más de 500,000 de personas siguen sin luz. Hay varias calles inundadas, particularmente en las zonas y las comunidades entre el Boulevard Bush y la avenida Fowler. Y también hay muchísimos árboles caídos y cables de electricidad también caídos. Es sumamente importante tener mucho cuidado cuando sale hoy en las calles e inicia su proceso de recuperación. Por favor, no se arriesgue. Hay muchas ramas y muchos árboles que también se seguirán cayendo a medida que pasa el tiempo y los cables de electricidad también podrán estar activos y hay corrientes activas, así que por favor no se vaya a acercar. Debido a los apagones hay muchos semáforos también apagados. Lamentablemente hemos visto que los conductores no están respetando las leyes de tránsito y no están frenando. Así que por favor, si ve que un semáforo está apagado, es muy importante frenar y cederle el paso al otro vehículo a medida que va llegando y ver quién le corresponde. Desafortunadamente ya se reportó un accidente fatal en nuestra comunidad debido a otro conductor que falló en frenar en esa intersección. Esto es algo muy triste, ya que es un accidente que se puede prevenir con solo tener paciencia y respetar las leyes de tránsito. Varias gasolineras también están apagadas y debido a eso es difícil encontrar gasolina. Por favor, tenga paciencia para evitar que los carros estén manejando sin rumbo o en varias direcciones. Estamos realizando y produciendo una lista de negocios que están abiertos y la vamos a publicar en nuestra página web tampa.gov/hurricane. La recolección de residuos de la tormenta reanudará hoy, pero la recolección de basura residencial no empezará hasta el lunes. Estamos concentrados en recolectar los residuos de la tormenta. También hoy hemos activado 2 centros de distribución de comida, agua y productos de higiene, así que si usted se ve afectado por esta tormenta y no tiene estos productos, por favor no dude en visitar el centro Babe Zaharias en Forest Hills y el parque Copeland en la zona universitaria. Abrirán a la 1 de la tarde y cierran a las 7 de la tarde. Para resumir, este va a ser un proceso de recuperación muy largo y hay que tener mucha paciencia. Como dijo la alcaldesa Jane Castor, todos los líderes de la ciudad, todos los trabajadores, todos están trabajando muy duro las 24 horas tratando de regresar a la normalidad y asegurarse que todo este proceso sea eficiente y sea rápido. Para darles un ejemplo, el contexto de qué tan grave y qué tan la magnitud de este proceso, hay más de 6,000 equipos de trabajadores de electricidad que se han desplazado por nuestra región para realizar las reparaciones de electricidad. Este es el esfuerzo más grande que se ha visto en la historia de nuestra región. Entonces, por favor, todos tenemos que poner también de nuestra parte y tener cuidado a medida que vamos recuperando. Para recibir las últimas actualizaciones, por favor, aproveche nuestro servicio gratuito de alertas. Por favor, mande un mensaje de texto Tampa lista al número 888-777 y por ahí le estaremos comunicando toda la información importante relacionada a la tormenta. Muchas gracias.
All right, any questions?
A couple of them. One is when it comes to the pump station in Forest Hills, there are some residents who say that the city should have had a working generator to make up for the lack of power that was coming in. Is that something the city takes responsibility for, or is it more nuanced than that?
Well, it's more nuanced than that, but we would love to have a generator for all the stoplights that are out right now. Vic can speak more to the failure of the pump and generator issues.
Yeah, so that's a fair question, and to be clear, if we had a generator out there, it would have kicked in, and that would have helped the situation out. Having said that, the fact is that while we have plenty of pumping stations with generators out there, we don't have them everywhere. That is something that we will be looking at when we do a hot wash after these 2 storms, especially given that we expect these kind of storms. We don't want them to be the new normal, and we have to prepare in areas that don't usually flood. But the reason we didn't have a backup generator is because places like Forest Hills don't usually flood. They don't usually get 11 inches of rain, and it's obvious that we have to prepare much more broadly. But this isn't unique to just the city of Tampa. That's true for most cities where between the cost and the value, there are considerations that will change now.
Mayor, the port, when it comes to the gas, the port says that it's a power issue there, whereas you're saying it's a flood issue. Do you know which is which, or could it be both?
It's both. They're waiting, they're working with TICO to get the port back up, the electricity back up. So that is an issue. But with the historical amount of rain, they have to get that water out of there before they can even get the pumps or generators in there. So it's an issue of both.
Mayor, are you kind of afraid once everybody gets, I guess, the gas into town, it might become a Mad Max kind of effect where people are just, you know, fighting, bustling to get to that gas?
We'll deal with that, and that's that's part of the conversation, of the many conversations I've had with Paul Anderson, is to ensure that that gas that's coming out is going to the communities that have been the most impacted, and to ensure that, you know, there's an orderly distribution of that. We saw that actually with Tampa Police Department prior to Milton. You know, people are stressed, and they feel that there isn't going to be an availability of gas, and so tensions rise. But we do ask, it's a good point, we do ask everyone to be patient. Everybody's in the same position. We can all count our blessings with the weather today being in the 70s as opposed to 90 degrees with a feels like temperature of 100. And so running refrigerators and those types of things. And helping out neighbors. I have a generator. I have 5 of my neighbors' refrigerators plugged into it. I probably shouldn't say that in front of Tico. They'll say it's an overload or something, but it isn't. It can it can handle it. But you know, be a good neighbor. Help your neighbors out. That's what we've seen in the preparation for both Helene and Milton, going through both storms, and we're still seeing it now. People wanting to help out, but we'll get people the fuel that they need.
Wonder if I can ask Tico a few questions. One is, has the company set any benchmarks internally for when you would like to see the vast majority of people have their power restored?
So that is the number that we will have later today, probably tonight. So as part of the priority restoration, the triage, the damage assessment, the first thing we have to do is identify the damage and the safety risks. And then from those, we create a plan for restoration. And as we get out in the field and we see how long it's taken to do some of the complex repairs, that gives us an idea of how long it will take to complete the restoration. So that information is coming in all the time now. A good 24 hours of info will help us make a realistic estimate of when the majority of customers who can safely receive power will have it.
Have you found that the beginning of the process of getting the trucks out into the field has been efficient, and are you getting to areas where you're able to, as you've said in the past, create bang for your buck?
So yes, today is a good day that everyone was able to get in the field. Yesterday there was a lot of damage down. As you know, there was an evacuation order for the county that wasn't lifted until 2 in the afternoon. So you know, that meant that the roads were unsafe. So everything has to be safe, and water has to be receded, debris has to be removed for us to build. There's an electrical trucks, and so as soon as that, everything was getting put into place.
Does that mean Tico is 9 to 5, or is it Tico?
No, Tico is not 9 to
7
5.
days a week?
It is not the bank of Tico. It is Tampa Electric, and we are 24/7, 365 days a year, tirelessly around the clock. Our linemen are working 2 overlapping 16-hour shifts. They leave with food. They don't get to come back to eat. And they are working as hard as they possibly can in the safest way possible.
Chief, can you describe the car crash last night? What, as you best can tell, happened, and
sure.
the results of it?
Sure, we provided a media alert on that before, but as I said before, every single one of the Tampa Police Department officers are still working every single day. And you can imagine it's next to impossible to cover every intersection, and that's why our officers are covering the majority of them, and we're working with mobility to have stop signs placed in the others. Any electricity or lights working to use as a 4-way stop. And last night at 10 o'clock at Florida and Palm, it's my understanding that both vehicles neither stopped at either direction, and unfortunately a passenger, 53-year-old female, tragically died in that accident.
She wearing a seatbelt?
I'd have to give you the specifics on
Anything else?